The Deaf Women Aloud Initiative has decried the low number of registered voters of members of its community and called on government to do more in making registration process easy for deaf persons across the country to enable them participate fully in the upcoming general elections. The Executive Director, Deaf Women Aloud Initiative, Helen Beyioku-Alase, made this known at a sensitization event of deaf women data collection and mapping in various areas of Abuja. Beyioku-Alase also says information dissemination to members of the hearing impaired community on matters of election must be improved to ensure they have a sense of belonging in the society.
10 million is not a small number. In some countries, 10 million makes up a country. A country. Now, look at INEC reports. It shows the number of people that have PVC registered. From the information, we have the albino as the highest cluster of persons with disability that have registered PVC. We are talking about the deaf community alone. I think over 1,000 something PVC. So you can imagine how many how many persons in deaf community will come out to vote. So we understand that there is communication barrier between INEC and the deaf community. For example, when I want to register, you ask me for my PVC, for my name and number and everything. But what about some deaf people who are not educated? How do they give this information during registration of PVC? So these are some of the reasons why deaf votes cannot count. So we are left out, we don't have opportunities to vote. Today's sensitization shows that not many deaf women come out to vote. So I asked, did you vote during the last FCT election? They said no. And I asked why, because they don't have their PVC. Many deaf people heard about this PVC registration when the portal was about to close. So I can say that out of 10 million, 5% have PVC. Yes, I can say that out of 10 million. That's because awareness has not reached the 10 million. But we as deaf people, we depend on information through sign language interpreters. So deaf people are left behind. Although we are thankful to the American Embassy for finding us worthy to support this voters education project, but we wish to have more opportunity to help deaf people to register for their PVC and also to vote during the election. So this sensitization is to tell the deaf population who have their PVC to come out and vote during the election. Yes, even some deaf persons have PVC, but then they cannot vote because at the polling unit there are no sign language interpreter. So if there are crises, and they are also scared of crisis during the elections. If there are crises, maybe a hearing person hear bomb and run, the deaf person will not be able to run. Even if there are, talks at the polling unit, the deaf persons will not know what is going on. So these are some of the challenges, these are some of the fears of deaf persons, and that hinder them from voting, and all that. So we look forward to deaf voting boldly in the coming elections. You see, in the Nigerian population, we are over 200 million. 35% of that number are persons with disability. Deaf community are also in that percentage. We are begging the deaf population to come out and vote because we want our vote to count in the 2023 election. We want good leaders. But if you don't come out to vote, we will keep having bad leaders. Many deaf men never experience voting. So please come out and vote. This is my message to you, so that our votes can count. Yes, our votes can count. Let us vote the right person. If our preferred candidate win, we will be proud that yes, so it is my vote that brought him to that position. If we want accessible healthcare services, if we want accessible systems in Nigeria, it is our vote that will help us achieve that. So please, the deaf community should come out and vote. Yes, we can vote and be voted for. Thank you.
Today we are with Deaf Women Aloud Initiative to sensitize deaf women communities who are on the electoral process, who have their PVC on how they're going to vote in the next coming election, because we believe the deaf women are also members of society and they have the right to be included in the electoral process. First, to be taught about the electoral process, because so much information is out there, but there are no specific information on how to make it easy for deaf women and men to be able to access the polling units, get their PVC and do the needful during the election day. So what we are doing here with the support of U.S. Embassy, we are here to sensitize deaf women in Ama community who have registered for their PVC, who already have their PVC and looking forward to vote. A lot of them are here with questions about how the voting process will be all about, because this is the first time they'll be voting in any general election. So we are here to also sensitize them about data collection, about election processing and how to vote during the next coming election. 10 million deaf women in Nigeria, and we don't have up to 10% of them that have their PVC, because they were not really sensitized during the time INEC raises awareness about PVC collection. So if you have that numbers of people and the number of people who have their PVC is so low, is because they are not being carried along in the process. They are not included in the electoral process, and that's the need for this project. We want to include them in the electoral process because they are also members of this country. They have the right to cast their vote, just like me and you, who can hear or who doesn't have disability. So they have the right, because they also have needs and challenges that they want the next government or next administration to address, and that's the reason why we are here. Unlike other people who are living with disability that are not deaf, some of them are also registered, they have their PVC, but the deaf people are really neglected in this process, and that's why we are calling the section of INEC and all the responsible authority to understand that the people who are deaf, they also should be included. And by the time INEC is posting ad hoc staff for the election, they should also consider posting staff that can also be interpreters to people who are deaf, so that once they get there, they won't be thrown out of balance when they don't have no interpreter, because you can't ask an interpreter to be following you to the voting center. It's very expensive to the deaf people, and those are the issues that we are even facing. To get an interpreter to interpret for you for 1 hour, it's very expensive. But when you have people who can help you, maybe are your friends, it makes it easier. So we have reached out to INEC as an advocacy to also tell them about the issues and situation of people living with disability, specifically the deaf people, their challenges and our concern towards the next election, how their vote will be captured.